Hello, I'd like to welcome you today to this seminar on the book of Habakkuk. We're in the second chapter, as we mentioned in the first chapter. Habakkuk is not too specific over any country that these different conditions that are being mentioned throughout this book are talking about. It seems to be a general condition. It could apply to the people today and the people of all times that are against God. And in the previous seminars, I have been saying Pythion, pi, using for the alpha iota, and it's A. And I was doing the pronunciation seminar. I realized that I was mispronouncing it. And so please forgive me, and it's Pe on the alpha iota diphthong. And it continues in verse 1, and Habakkuk is speaking here, and it says, Epitis phylakis mu stisome, ke epivisome, upon, the epigraphes, a writing upon, the preposition upon, my phylakis, a watch. A prophylaxis is an act of guarding against disease, and this was a watch. He says, I will stand, and I will mount. That is generally mounting upon an animal many times. And we'll continue here. He will mount upon a rock. So a P, again, the preposition, a rock, a petron. We have a petroglyph, writing upon a rock. And I will watch over, ke aposkopevso tu idin ti lalisi enemi, ke ti apokritho epi ton elechon mu. And he's going to stand upon this rock, and he's going to watch over to behold what he should speak in me, what God will speak into him. Lalisi, the glossolalia, lali, it has to do with speech, and the preposition. And what I will answer upon my being reproved or told what to do if he wasn't doing what he was supposed to be doing. And which is the case on a lot of us. We have God is going to speak to us, but we're probably not ready for it, and we need to be reproved first. Realize that the condition that God is working in our lives, we so many times take our everyday problems and set them, or not set them aside, but put them more important. And then when God speaks to us, he gets our attention. And it continues in verse 2, Ke apokrithi pros me Kyrios, ke ipe grapson orasin saphos is pixion, opos dioki o anagenoskon avta. And one, the Lord, the Kyrios, Kyrieleison, the derivative, answered to me and said, grapson, right, we have a graphic as a derivative, right, the vision, clearly, onto a writing tablet, so that the one reading these things should take flight. So this is a warning to somebody that when they hear this, that they should take flight or change would be the better thing, but or run away because something bad is going to happen to them. In verse 2 it continues, Dioti eti orasis is kairon, ke anatali is peres, ke uk is canon, ean isterisi ipominon afton, oti erchomenos ixi, ke umi chronisi. Now, this is an interesting two verses. I almost should read this next one also because they go together with the words that are in the New Testament that are quoting these. 2:4 it says, Ean ipostilite uk evdoki ipsiki mu en avto, o de dikios ekpisteos mu zisite. Now he's saying, God is saying, for the vision is yet for a time. It shall rise in the end. So this whole book of Habakkuk may be having to do with the end, which hasn't happened yet. Or it could be the end of the people of Judah because of these Chaldeans coming. It's not going to be in vain, he says. And then he says, if he should lack, wait for him, for in coming he shall come, and in no way should he delay. This is a quotation in Hebrews 10, 30, verse 37. And it's talking about, in Hebrews, the will of God, the promise, and says, quotes in verse 37, for yet a little while the one coming shall come and will not delay. And that's that verse 37. And then 2:4 corresponds to Hebrews 10:38 and a few other places. If he keeps back my soul, the psyche, my soul favors not in him. But the just one shall live by my belief. That is a very famous quotation. It's used 3 different places. In verse 38 in Hebrews it says, but the just shall live of belief, and if he keeps back, my soul takes no pleasure in him. The just shall live by belief. But here it's the just one shall live by my belief. And in Hebrews, the Alexandrinus and Sinaiticus do have the mu in the Papyrus 46. But now in the other two, Romans 1:17, it has the same quote, but it doesn't have the mu in the end. Apparently all the manuscripts have the same. It says, for righteousness of God is revealed by it from belief unto belief, as it has been written, but the just shall live of belief. And then in Galatians 3:11, it says, but that by law no one is being justified with God is manifest, for it says, the just shall live of belief. And these 2 places don't have the mu, but the Hebrew 38 does, and the Old Testament. So I'll let you figure this out, but the just shall live by my belief is way different than of belief, because of my belief talks about living, to me it seems like talking about the belief of Jesus, who had the perfect belief, where it mentions many places in the New Testament the lack of belief of different people coming to Jesus, and Jesus saying if you had belief you could move mountains and do all these things. But Jesus had the perfect belief of God, that he went all the way through to the end and suffered, died, and was raised from the dead. And the just one shall live of my belief. Now is it talking here in verse 2:4 about Jesus is the just one there, shall live by my belief, be by God's belief, and we are to live of belief? Because many places in the New Testament it talks about of belief. It's not, it's obvious it's not talking about the belief of Jesus, but it's talking about a belief of man. It's a very deep subject, this word pisteos, as we mentioned earlier in chapter 1. And we'll continue now in verse 5. O they katiomenos ke kataphronis tis anir alazon uthen umi perani os aplatine kathos o adis tim sikinavtu ke utos os thanatos uk empiplamenos ke episinaxi pros avton panta ta ethni ke is vexite pros avton pantas tus leus. But the one, now we have the purple or blue 3588s, or the articles that are the nominative, the subject of the sentence or the verse. but the arrogant one and despising. So here is what it's talking about now. It goes all the way from what I see from verse 5 all the way down to verse 14. It talks about the arrogant one, the one being arrogant and despising, or an ostentatious man. Not one thing in any way should he have achieved, who widened his soul, one psyche, again the psyche, his soul unto Hades and Hades. We have the word on the word pamphlet. If you want to go pick one up, we need to put them up on the internet. We haven't done that yet, but they will be up shortly, and you'll be able to see that pamphlet. And so as death, thanatos, thanatology is a study of death and mortuary science, and so as death not being filled up, Hades is not filled up. It still has people coming into it. Even he shall assemble unto himself all the nations. Panta, we have pan, all, and ethnic is a derivative of the nations, and will take in to himself all the peoples. I still see that. I don't see this as God right here. I see this as the ostentatious and despising man, but I could be wrong. And then verse 6, it continues, Uki tafta panta paravolin kadaftu lipsonte, ke provlima is theigisin aftu, ke erusin oe, o plithinon iafto ta uk onta aftu, eostinos, ke varinon ton kleon aftu divaros. Then we go up here, shall not to all these 5 take up 6 a parable against him, and a riddle, a problem, 4265-1's orange, so you can add that in English derivatives if you'd like, a problem, provlima, a riddle or problem for his narrative. And they shall say, woe, ue, or oive in Hebrew, woe is a derivative. Oh, the one multiplying. This is the nominative singular, the subject. Oh, the woe, the one multiplying to himself the things not being his. Many people were confiscating things, rich people taking advantage of the poor, the widows, the orphans, and taking over lands. Today we see all kinds of people taking all kinds of power through money and stocks, different types of stock manipulation where they've taken over the money of all kinds of people that have invested their life savings or their retirement, and people have taken these things from them. How long, he says? Even the one oppressing his collar densely, varinon, the barometer, something to do with head weight. The one oppressing his collar densely. These people, the collar of the yoke of slavery, or a yoke of controlling another person, even or a person, and putting him in prison for trying to get their last cent out of this person that owes them. They had to wear these collars and manacles in prison when they owed money. A little bit different than today. In verse 2:7 it continues, Oti exaiphanes anastisonte daknontes afton, ke ek nipsusin I epivulisu, ke esi is diarpagin aftis. For suddenly one's biting him shall raise up suddenly. So it's going to turn on these people. And the plotters against you shall sober up, and you will be for ravaging to them. So that God's warning, it's going to turn against you if you are doing these things of taking advantage of the people. It's going to turn against you. These people that were doing these stock manipulations with Enron in 2007 or died, and some of them went to jail, and one of them died, and it's going to turn against them. In verse 2:8, the OTC esgilevsus ethni pola. Skilevsu sise Pontus e Ippolelimeni lei, the imata anthropon, ke asavias gis, ke polios. We'll do this and then we'll go up to the next top of the next column. Because you despoiled many nations, pola, we have polygamy, the poly of many, many wives, ethnic, many nations, ethnic has to do with that. Because you despoiled many nations. I could be talking about the Chaldeans here. All the ones, Pontus, all the ones being left, all the peoples being left shall despoil you, the laity, the peoples, because of the blood, the imata. We have hematology of anthropology of men, the blood of men, and the impious deeds of the land and the city, the ge, and the geology, and polios, a metropolis, all these derivatives. The people shall despoil you because of the blood of the men and the impious deeds of the land and city. Judah was doing these impious things. The whole book of Jeremiah, it gives a description of the last days of Judah and how God had it with them. And they were doing all these things mainly and going into idolatry and forsaking the Lord. Ponton and all of the ones believing, dwelling in it. Ton, katikunton aftin, eco, the dwelling in it. O pleonekton, pleonexian, kakin, to eco aftu, to taxe, is, ipsos, nocion aftu, to expostine ek hieros kakon. And it continues with this condition of these impious people. Oh, the one overabounding. There's the nominative, the subject, in a desire for evil wealth. It's not wealth, but evil wealth to his house. Kaka, it has to do with something bad. And eco as a house, economy. To arrange his nest in the heights. Ipsos, the heights. Up, ipsos, in height. To pull out from the hand of evils. To pull out from the hand of evils. To pull, basically to take things from other person's hands for evil desires of the person. And God says, woe to them if that's what these people are doing or anybody is doing, taking these things, thinking that they are going to they're going to be safe in what they're doing by putting their nest in the height, more or less. If you think that you have a hiding place in a high tower of New York City, and you're taking money from people and living high, don't think that you're not going to be found out. More or less, this is what he's referring to. In verse 10, vulevso iskinin to ikosu, sina piranas polus leus, ke eximarten e psyche su. You deliberated shame to your house. You finished off many peoples. Many peoples were hurt by these scandals of the stocks, and the people that do these things of getting money hurt a lot of people. And your soul, the psyche, was led into sin. It could be, he's talking in more than one condition of the time with Nebuchadnezzar and the Chaldeans and the way the people of Israel were, and also a future. It says the end, the Paris. Vioti lithos ek tiku voisate, ke kantharos ek xilu thanksate avta. For the stone, the lithos, the lithography, it's writing on a stone, shall yell out from the wall. Ek, from the wall. The stone shall yell out from the wall. there are things that you are going to be found out. You may think that you're doing something in a hidden, but the stone is going to yell out more, and something's going to happen that you haven't planned on to find you out. And the beetle from out of the wood, xilu, a xylophone is the wood instrument that you hit with mallets and make sound. The beetle that's in the wood is going to utter its sounds. It's going to tell of what you're doing. You're not going to be able to hide. 2:12. Ue o ikodhomon polin in imasi ke etimazon polin in adhikies. Ue, oive again, the one building a city in blood and prepares a city by iniquities. If your peoples are doing things, and this is kind of going into beyond the personal, into countries that are doing these things, or cities, or groups of people that are doing things and they know that are wrong. Building a city in blood and a city of iniquities. And there were these types of cities, more so back in the time of the Middle Ages and earlier, when these cities, one city can have really good people, and another one can have a lot of bad people. We see that with the city of, I can't think of the name, but it was in the Judges, when at the end this one man brought his concubine, and he bypassed the city of the evil people and went to what he thought was the security of the city of the people of Benjamin. And here the men came out and wanted to have sex with the men, and then they put out the concubine, and she was killed. And the next morning she was found dead on the doorstep. And today we see cities in the world that are cities of blood and iniquities especially, and I can think of some where there's a lot of gambling and prostitution going on and so forth. Verse 13. Utavta esti parakiriou pantokratoros ke exilipon lei ikani in piri ke ethni pola ke ologopsikisan. Are these not from the Lord Almighty, that fit peoples failed by fire, and many nations, and they became faint-hearted? God's going to take care of these types of cities and conditions, and it's from the Lord. The Kyriou, Pantokratoros, the all, Pan is all, Krat is might, the Almighty, and that a fit people failed by fire, Pyria, pyromania, so English derivative, and Pola, polygamy, and ethnic, many nations, and they became faint-hearted. Oligo is little, and psyche is the psyche. They became faint-hearted, had a little soul, and left in them because of God. After God took care of these peoples and what they were doing. Oti pleistisate igi to genone tin doxen kyriou os ethor katakalipse thalasus. For the earth, the geology shall be filled, to know, genome, to the Gnostics, to knowers, to know the glory, doxen, of the Lord. As ethor, water, hydraulics is the derivative. Katakalipse, the cataclysm. Water covers up the thalasus, the seas. Verse 15. O potizon ton plesion aftu anatropin tholeron ke methisgon opos epivlepi epi taspilia afton. O, or woe, O the one giving a drink to his neighbor, and a clouded and intoxicating diet of leaves, so that he should look upon their private parts. Somebody that's getting someone drunk, he's talking about, to a friend or a neighbor, so that he can look upon their private parts. It has a sexual connotation. It could be talking about adultery, or basically it's the person's condition, that they're going to intoxicate somebody to look at their nakedness and to look at their private parts. A sick condition, for sure. And potizon is, they're giving them a pot is an English derivative, and methiskon is intoxicating. We have methyl alcohol. And verse 16, plismonin atimias ek doxis pii ke diasalevthiti ekiklo sensei potirion dexias kiriou ke sinik the atimia epi tin doxen su. Up here, and we goes to number 1, drink. 2, the fullness, the plismoni, the fullness, the plethora is a derivative of the dishonor of your glory. Drink, you may as well drink to how bad you are. Be excited, it says. The cup of the right hand, the cup, the potirion dexias, of the right hand of the Lord encircled you. And dishonor was brought upon your glory. So you may as well drink to your dishonor because you've reached the top, and be excited about it. The cup of the right hand, you've got God's attention by your evil works, more or less, and dishonor was brought upon your glory. This is where it'll end for you. He's warning. This is a warning by God. And in verse 17, it goes and says, Theoti asevia tu levanu kalipsi se, ke talaporia therion patoisi se, the imata anthropon, ke asavias gis, ke polios, ke pantonton katikunton aftin. For the impiety of Lebanon shall cover you. Calypsi, we have a covering. Apocalypse is an uncovering, and cataclysm is covering over the water. This shall cover you. And the misery from the therion, the beast. Theriomorphic is a word in English. It's a derivative, kind of remote, but it's having the form of a beast. For the impiety of Lebanon shall cover you, and the misery from wild beasts shall terrify you, because of the imata, the blood, hematology of men, anthropon, and the impious deeds of the land, the gi, and of the polios, the city, metropolis, and all the ones dwelling in it. Ti opheli glipton oti eklipson afto, eplasen afto honevma phantasian psevdi, oti pepithen o plasis epitaplasma aftu, tu pise idola kofa. What benefit? Ophelia is the word, and we have the name person, Ophelia, for a woman's name, beneficial. What benefit is the carved image, the glypton? We have a glyph as an engraved figure. That they carved it, aglypson, the verb. He shaped it, the man, the idolater, or the people that make the idols, eplason. He shaped it for a molten casting, a false visible display. Psevdi, we have a false. Phantasian, a fantasy, is a derivative, a visible display, a false visible display. Pseudo is a derivative for the psevdi, pseudo. For the one shaping has relied upon the thing shaped by him in the making of mute idols, idola, idol, almost a direct transliteration. So this person that's shaping these idols out of gold and silver and wood and carving and stone, ends up relying upon the thing it's shaped. We see that with the coppersmith. I think Alexander, I think his name was in Acts, where all these men were completely controlled by their idol making. And when Paul came and told them, people that, these are just dumb idols, and the people started changing, these men were upset, wanting to kill Paul because they were relying upon these things for their money. In verse 19, Ue o legon to xilo eknipson. Ue are they, the one saying to the wood, the xilo, the xylophone, remember we had that, a wood instrument? Woe to the one saying to the wood, sober up. Arise. And keto litho ipsothisti, ke afto esti fantasia, ke estin elasma krisiu, ke argiriu, ke pan pnevma uk estin en afto. Agirthi, arise. And to the stone, that's the one that he's making this stone idol, be exalted, the one saying to these things. But it is only a fantasia. It is only a visible display. There's no life in these stones. These little idols that sit there, and a little fat man and sitting in his legs crossed. All it is a piece of bronze or wood or whatever. It is a hammered out elasma krisiu, chrysanthemum, the golden flower, golden. It is a piece of hammered out gold. They had the gold and they made the idols. And silver, argiriu, Argentina being the silver, the country Argentina, silver. And there is no breath, pneuma, it's not spirit, could be spirit or breath or wind. There is no breath at all is in it. O the Kyrios in neo agio avtu, evlavisto apo prosopu avtu pasa igi. But the Lord, the Kyrios, is in his holy temple, neo agio. Let all pasa igi, the geology, earth, venerate before him. Let all the venerate. He is in his holy temple. His holy temple is in many places is in Jerusalem, the only place on earth outside of his tabernacle. The tabernacle was in other places. It moved through the Sinai, but his temple was in Jerusalem. It's not in Jerusalem today, but it will be again. It says that in different places in Revelation, and alludes to it in Ezekiel, the last 10 chapters, if you want to go there. And he's in heaven with where his throne. The temple is the place where the Lord is. His throne is there. He sits above the cherubim, the holy seat, and this is where the temple, and that's where God is. He's there high above. And then let all the earth venerate before him, all the earth. And here now he's relating to everybody, not Judah or any particular person, but all the earth. And so God demands this, and it will happen. Every knee will bow. And we will then go into the third chapter in the next seminar. We'll see you then. God bless.